Vande Gurupadadvandvam Avang Manasagocharam Rakta Shukla Prabhamisram Atarkyam Traipuram Mahaha. Srinathadi Gurutrayam Ganapatim Pithatrayam Bhairavam Siddhodham Vatukatrayam Padayugam Dutikramam Mandalam Virana Dvishta Chatushashtinavakam Viravali Panchakam Sriman Malini Mantraraja Sahitam Vande Gurur Mandalam. So, good evening, good afternoon, good morning from wherever you are, and welcome to today's talk. The main theme of this program is decolonizing Indian Dharma, and my area of focus is on Tantra. And what I would be focusing especially on is how Tantra gets distorted throughout Indian cross cultures and what exactly it is, what it is not. And I will not be really talking about a very scholarly presentation like quoting from the Shastras or quoting from how a particular philosophical system thinks or how that is done. I will be talking for the laymen who are not really introduced into Tantric system of thought and how they can be understanding what is Tantra and what it is not. So basically, the word Tantra literally translates into Tanu Vistare. Tanu means the body, Vistar means widening. So it indicates the widening of the body. So what happens is when we are born, we are normally, through our conditioning, we normally start believing that this physical body is our identity. And we do miss that the objective reality that we are actually experiencing. By objective reality, I mean you witnessing me right now as a person speaking. I am the object of your awareness. What we do miss is that we start seeing, like, you're hearing me, you're listening to me, you're witnessing me, you think that I am separate from you. But this awareness is not separate from you. We try to put that awareness inside that oneness of consciousness, and this body expands. This, in another sense, this body expands is that there is this structure of the universe. There's a statement in Bengali, Ja ache deho bhande tai ache brahmande. So it literally means whatever there is in this body, deho is the body and bhando is this body. Deho bhande tai ache brahmande. Tai ache means that exact thing is in this brahmando. Brahmando is this great shell of universe, this particular universe. And a major idea of several tantric schools is to unite ourselves with that oneness of Brahmanda and this Deho-bhanda. So making both of them one by identifying the entire course within the body. And what makes something Tantra Shastra is when it starts coming from the mouth of Shiva and Shakti. Through the interaction of Shiva and Shakti, does this entire system of philosophy gets revealed, philosophy and practice gets revealed. So Shiva and Shakti, those who may be unfamiliar or familiar, like if you're familiar, it's fine. Normally, you can picture of Shiva and Shakti as the god Shiva and Shakti. But there is something very interesting over here. When we are talking about Shiva and Shakti in Tantra, it is the first gurus we are talking about who revealed the knowledge. And Shiva also has stratifications. Like there is the Shiva Tattva, which is the very essence on which the world is being experienced, Shakti. But then the gradation starts coming down towards more physical manifestation. And in the union of that state, that the high state, the person who has attained that consciousness in the ancient times, there was Shiva and his Bhairavi Shakti who were interacting, and this great knowledge was revealed in Kailasha. Kailasha Shikare Rammi Nanaratma Kushobhite. The several Mangalacharans of several agamas goes like this. So this is very sacred to Indian people. And the problem of Tantra distortion is not something that is just happening abroad, it is also happening in India. And I personally come from Bengal. And I live in exactly what is in the ancient times was known as Kali Kshetra. Right? Even some people who are in practice know of my locality as Kali Kshetra. This locality is known as Kali Kshetra because the name was Kali Ghat or Kali Kshetra, and it got gradually distorted to Kali Ketro, Kali Ketto, and ultimately to Kalikatta, and ultimately to Calcutta, and right now it's known as Kolkata. So people might be knowing of Calcutta, the British capital of India. But the actual name is Kali Kshetra. So this was a hub of tantric practice, and it still is one of the hubs of tantric practice. And what is most popularly practiced over here is Dasamahavidya Tantra, the worship of the 10 Mahavidyas. It starts with Kali and ends with Kamala. They are basically Kali, Tara, Tripura, Bhuvaneshwari, Bhairavi, Chinnamasta, Bagala, Dhumavati, Matangi, and Kamala. These are the 10 Mahavidyas that is mainly worshipped, and Kali becomes the most prominent form of them. Then there's another system of Tantra, like I was initiated into that completely, that is Srikula Tantra from South India. And in Kashmir, I was introduced, like I have been to all the 3 great krantas of Tantra. Like in Kashmir, I was doing Kashmir Shaivism's Trika Sadhana from Lakshmanju's lineage. But this is my main lineage, that being a Bengali, it is my main practice that follows from left-hand path to Kaulachara. So this issue of concern of how left-hand part of Tantra gets distorted is something that I would actually like to address over here. So what is this left-hand path and right-hand path that I'm talking about? So I would like to read you out about the 7 acharas of Tantra. So when someone enters, we talk about that in Tantra, there are not just a direct tantric practice, but there are in total 7 acharas that are being practiced. So I would be using layman's term again. So I will be just discussing it, how it happens. So first, there are 3 bhavas and 7 ways. So it starts with when a person first gets diksha into Tantra. By diksha, it means initiation. It's just you get a mantra from the guru. You have to go to the guru, then do some rituals. Through that rituals, you give some offerings of your ancestors. There's a particular way how the diksha happens. So you give some offering to the ancestors, you give some offering to the guru mandala you are coming to, you give some offering to the Ishta Devis, and then you do a puja of the Ishta Devi who is going to be, in whom you are going to be initiated in. You're going to give some offering to the Guru and Guru Shakti, that is the power as in wife of Guru or Duti or Bhairavi of Guru. You bow down and ask him to give, take your cross, and then you take certain vows of secrecy, which even I had to take. So not everything in Tantra will be allowed, and I am always referring to something to see what can be said and what cannot be said. So, and then you get the initiation, and then you start in each step of practice. Even in initiation, there are different levels, but first I will mention the practice. So there is something known as Sapta Achara or 7 acharas, the 7 ways of progressing. Now listen to this very carefully. The first is Vedachara. So when you see that you are entering into Vedachara, then you first, the basic rules of Vedachara is a person doing Vedachara will wake up at Brahma Muhurta. That's basically 40 minutes ahead before the sunrise. He cleans himself physically, like you have to go and take bath and clean yourself. Do prayer to your guru in pedestal. You have something that represents the guru. And there's a particular word, I'm not revealing it right now. Then you will do the pranam, and there is a certain way of doing pranam, like the mudras and everything. I'm showing you the mudra because there is a complete nonsense going on that this is the yoni mudra that goes on, but that is not the yoni mudra. This is the yoni mudra that we use. So, and I'm not showing you how to do it, but I'm just showing you the yoni mudra. So then you have to, doing that, you have to do some bija, bhag bija. We are not allowed to pronounce the beach, but there is a code that we use. If we say the word bhag beach, then people who are in Tantra will know what I'm talking. So we do the japa, and then we start with the nitya karma. The person who is doing Tantra, they do the Vedic karma. See, entering into Tantra does not mean you get into some esoteric alcohol and drinking of meat and all these things. No, this starts with Vedachara, very orthodox orthopraxis of Vedic rituals. You do the Nitya Karma of Nitya Sandha, do the pujas, respect the Vedic authority, and you don't really associate with women, as in try to stay away from anything that is very sexual or very violent or anything that goes from the idea of purity. So you practice a kind of purity. From that purity, we move on to the next form of achara, that is known as Vaishnava achara. So there is this popular idea that the Shaktas and Vaishnavas are constantly fighting with each other. Like, it's not. The idea is of Vaishnava achara is the idea of Vaishnavas being one who is the dasa of God or the servant of God, to do seva of God. So you are basically having the attitude of the what you say, doing seva, or that is doing servitude of God, and you try to avoid certain things, that you don't do puja after sunset. You don't really go into violence, like you have to maintain vegetarianism, you have to maintain sexual abstinence. You don't really go into alcoholism or any kind of intoxication. So all these things come into Vaishnavachara. After Vaishnavachara, when a person gets purified in Vaishnavachara and they have gone over this level and they have understood the servitude, they enter into Shaivachara. Now, in Shaivachara, we do follow the Vedic news, but in Shaivachara, the Shaiva path, we usually don't sacrifice or do anything to the animals. You have to maintain vegetarianism. Whenever you think of anything, you constantly remember Shiva. Like anything you are doing, like you say you are eating, you are shouting, you are having getting annoyed over someone. And there is this beautiful sloka of Utpal Deva, like Vishamoskopi, Shaskopi, Rudanapi, Hasanapi, Gambhiropi, Vichintrapi, Ratayam, Shivotpalam. Like this it goes, like Ratayam. Like anything you see in your mouth, Shiva, Shiva would come out. Voma, Voma would come out. You will be in that state. And when you have perfected that state, or if not perfected, like you have learned how to think of Shiva, of God, even while doing the achara, your mouth, your words are becoming Shiva. At that state, you are not getting into non-vegetarianism. You are maintaining a purity and you are meditating on Shiva. This is the time you start transforming from Shaivachara to what is known as Dakshinachara. So most of the system basically does not go beyond Dakshinachara. In Dakshinachara, when you are worshipping God, you are following the Vedic ritual and the methods. Like this is the most popular thing you will see in South and most of the places, that they worship Devi or God with Vedic mantras using the Vedic Agni things. There is a difference between Vedic and Tantric processes. So till here, the Vedic process is openly followed. And you have like you will be in ecstasy, like taking siddhi. Siddhi is a particular kind of intoxicant. If not intoxicant, a little bit of that kind of intoxicant, like you take it, or you have an idea of that, how intoxication happens, and you do the kind of japa and everything that in meditation, that you are doing the japa and you are constantly enjoying the ecstasy of the japa. And in special places, like when you are going into the Tirthasthan, when you are having a particular grahan, that is a particular kind of eclipse, or particular lunar days, you have particular rituals that you perform. So once one crosses Dakshinachara, see the amount of purification that happens, one enters into Vamachara. And this is where things starts getting a bit like different. And from orthopraxis, we directly shift to heteropraxis, and also issues get a bit controversial. And this is where all the distortion of public starts happening. People don't really go into the previous acharas, and they think that getting into Tantra is like a ticket of exploring their sexuality, which is utter nonsense, and it does not happen in Tantra. So I'm getting into Vamachara, the main act of what happens in the left-hand part of Vamachara. Dakshina meant right hand, now it's entering to Vam. So once one who have understood the ecstasy of this will right now move on into Vamachara. Because through Vamachara only, you can enter into Kaulachara. And this is said in Swastik Tantra. I don't have the text right now. You can check it up. That through these acharas can one only enter into the next achara. From Dakshinachara, you will enter into Samayachara, The word Samayachara usually means that Samaya. So Sa is your Shiva and Ma is your Shakti and Ya is Yamala. So it's a Yamala of Shiva and Shakti Achara, which happens purely through meditation. You don't get into the more esoteric versions of the tantric practice. In Vamachara, you have the sadhana of Pancha Makara, the 5 makaras. The 5 makaras are basically your 5 physically prominent things that we use. Alcohol, the mamsa. Mamsa is your meat, flesh. Matsa is your fish. Then it comes mudra. Mudra is rice. Mudra does not mean your hand gestures, like, because people outside won't really know, they don't know. It's fried rice made into your, what do you call, we have something known as puffed rice and something known as chire, that is pressed rice. It is cooked or uncooked and it is presented. That is mudra. After mudra, you have this mamsa, matsa, mudra. Mada is alcohol. Alcohol that has been purified using mantras and transformed into the very nectar or the ambrosia that was brought down during the time of Samudra Manthana. It is that very ambrosia of the goddess which we meditate on. So that is the alcohol that it gets transformed. And there's a lot of secret rituals that are done to transform the alcohol, and the alcohol loses all its property of intoxication. And when it is taken, you really don't get drunk or have anything that is like alcohol. And finally, Maithuna. Maithuna means the sexual intercourse or the union of the Shiva and Shakti. So these are the 5 things. Amongst this, the first 4 are literally used. I'm telling this just to clarify the confusion because these are usually not told outside. The first 4 are used, and when it comes to the 5th, that is the question of Maithuna, the sex, this is where the things get tricky. And we know that, and this is how we figure out that whether a person is talking from within the tradition or outside the tradition. Because the word Maithuna is a code for certain kinds of rituals which is done with flowers and not on a human being having sex with a human being. It does not really mean that. It is done with your wife, who is a Duti or a Bhairavi, to whom you are married to. And that is a particular ritual that is being practiced in certain sections. And then there is one where we just simply show the mudra and do pranama of the Devi and all these things. So this is what Maithuna is all about. It's not about you go to a tantric massage parlor and have a wonderful tantric sex. That is utterly nonsense, which is not followed in Tantra. And it gets interesting here that how the left-hand marga of Tantra gets distorted and becomes like, you will find websites promoting the idea of we are practicing Vama Marga of Tantra. It has got to do with all the dark arts, like how you do very dark versions of Pishach and demons, and you get Apsaras, there is a nymphs, and you have those ladies having sex with those ladies, you have all those things. None of this is done in Tantra in the real world. What basically happens is, in Vamachara, you learn to use the 5 makaras and start to become a Vira sadhaka. Vira, or someone who has won over this. So there is this subtle explanation that this 5 makaras teach you. So through the first makara, and by understanding these 5 makaras, will we only get into our sadhana of your, what do you say that, Kolachara. So this first makara is the Mamsa. And in Mamsa, the very Mamsa basically means, if you could just wait a minute, I will just give you the exact definitions. So, I would like to quote it. Yeah. So the very first Adyakshara Ma is what is the dravyas used, and because it has this Ma in it, so the word Ma becomes the very mantra and it becomes the makara. Okay. Madhya mamsam tata matsa mudra maithune vacha makara pankchatar kritya punarjanma na vidyate. So one who does this 5 makara sadhana, as I mentioned, does not come back to this world, because punarjanma na vidyate, you don't reincarnate in this world, you get liberated. So It is pretty silly, like thinking of the 5 things of Vamachara that using just by consuming meat, just by consuming fish, and such, by taking alcohol and having sex, how does a person get liberated? So this is where the tricky part comes, like the esoteric part comes into. And so a person who gets into Makara, the thing is, you really don't get into these things. You learn to refrain yourself from these things. So the thing is said that Somadhara Shared Yatu Brahmaradda Dvaranane Pitananda Mayastvangya Eva Madhya Sadhakaha. See how the alcohol is expelled. When the Shomadhara, there is this from the Brahmarandra, which is here, and there's a particular image of Kali where Kali is cutting through the moon in the Brahmarandra and is having a bowl over here, and it flows and she starts drinking from the bowl. So that's a symbolism of that. So from that, this bowl, the very alcohol from the very Brahmarandra starts pouring down and you start drinking it. So one who drinks that has attained Siddhi in Makara, in the 4th of the Makaras. I'm not exactly following the sequence, so just pardon me. The first Makara is the Mamsa. The meaning of Mamsa, it's out in Bengali, it's not out in any other language, so I'm telling you. So it's not very, very secret. It's kind of open secret nowadays. So the first Mamsa is this, our tongue. And what does this tongue indicate? The tongue has this watery thing, and it does indicate taking in meat during rituals, but it also indicates the control over your desire for meat, because in Manusambhita it is said that it is a normal nature of humans to get into alcohol, sex, and meat. But when it comes to Nivritti, when it comes to the reversal of creation, you have to really learn to refrain it. So to become a Vira, you first learn to get control over your tongue, because you can speak a lot, you can release all the things that is inside you, but through your mouth, you can create a lot of problems through words. And craving for food, like it's not, when I mean craving for food, I don't mean you are hungry, you should not eat. It's not the case. It's like eating unnecessarily, just craving for something good happening in front of you and you cannot resist yourself and eat. It may be a very good, like say chocolate you might like, and you see a chocolate over there and you start craving for it. So that is what gets restrained over here, your first tattva, the Mamsa. Then comes the Matsa. So the Matsa basically indicates pran, your vital breath, because your vital breath is flowing in the body and your body's air channels are like rivers in which fishes are flowing. So it's like the life of the rivers. When we see fishes inside the river, we call it alive. So basically this fishes makes this river very, very much alive. And it is flowing in our body. So you have to regulate the flow of breath in your body. So when a person learns to regulate it and put it in the very conjunction of Sushumna Nadi, there's this 2 sides, and then there's the central Nadi which goes directly from the Muladhara to Brahmarandra by going through the chakras. You really learn to how to control this thing. See, the quote is used, Ganga Yamunar Madhye Matsaudo Charota Sada. Te Matso Bhakshayat Yastu Na Bhavet Asmat Sadakaha. There are 2 rivers, Ganga and Yamuna, and there are 2 fishes which are moving through this Ganga and Yamuna river. And you have to eat these 2 fishes, that is the breath that is flowing through the right and the left side of your body. You have to regulate it. By eat, you have to regulate it and put it in the center. So one who does that does not really fall into the trap of samsara. Okay. So, okay. What is this? Then the third tattva, that is the mudra. Sahasrare Mahapadme Karnika Mutritat Charet Atma Tatraiva Deveshi Kevala Paramahpada Surya Koti Prakashita Chandra Koti Sushitala Ativa Kaminischa Maha Kundalini Yukta Yasya Gyane Dreyatra Mudra Sadhaka Uchyate. Oh goddess, in your head, the Sahasradal Padma, there is this Karnika Bhantare Sudhya. there is this great Paramatma which is situated beyond this and which is just as brilliant as thousands of sun glowing together. But at the same time, it does not burn you. It is as Sital, that is as calming, as soothing as the very light, like a crore of times of moonlight. It suits you like crore of times of moonlight. And it is very ecstatic. It enchants you. So the person who could actually witness that in his own consciousness, who is capable of witnessing this great light of awareness, and in his awareness does it flourish, does he know of mudra? See, this talks also Bhairavi Mudra of Kashmir, Shaiva Parampara, and also there is this one beautiful quote of Shema Raja, because I love him, I keep on remembering him. Prakashamane Paramartha Bhano Nashya Davidyeti Mire Samaste Tada Buddha Nirmala Drishtayopi Kinchit Napashyati Bhava Prapancha. So when the very light of your consciousness comes up, and the very differentiating factor of this word immediately disappears, because that sunlight basically removes these things. And that Buddha, like that awakened yogin, when he opens the eyes, he does not see the multiplicity of the world. He only sees consciousness, that Brahman itself. So this is what is happening. When a person perfects it, becomes a mudra sadhaka. See that step by step, a Vira sadhaka is going from restraint to controlling of the breath to witnessing the consciousness. The fourth one, as I said, that drinking of the alcohol, like again I will quote it. Somadhara sharet yah e Somadhara sharetru brahma randhrad baranane pitwa anandamastang yah saiva madhya sadhaka. So when this, after this witnessing this, the Somadhara starts falling off and you start drinking it. And when you are drinking it, you are in absolute ecstasy. So through that absolute ecstasy, you start becoming the sadhaka of alcohol. Like you become a madhya sadhaka. You are constantly drunk. Your eyes start becoming red. And for that, you have this physical alcohol that is taken, and rituals, which I'm not going into, but this is what happens. You transform that it. And the final one, and the most controversial and the popular one for people, the Tantric Sex. What is it? Maithunam param tattvam sthityaranta karanam. Maithunam jayate siddhir brahma jnanam sudurlabham. So this Maithuna, this Tantric Sex idea, is the greatest of the tattvas. The very creation, sustenance, and destructions is coded over it. The one who knows this Maithuna jayate siddhir brahma jnanam sudurlabham. The one who knows this Maithuna tattva can attain the siddhi, which is as durlabha, as hard to reach as Brahma Jnana, as the very awareness of the Supreme Being, where you become. Refantu rankumasha kunda madhye vyavasthita makarasya vidrurupa mahayonistita priye akarasya hansarura ekata sada bhavet tada jato mahananda brahma jnana sudurlabhat. So you see, it's located, this Maithuna Tattva is actually located in the Mahayoni. So what is this Mahayoni? I will tell you, like people have a very weird idea of yoni over here as thinking of the woman's particular thing. So in that, there is this great Hamsarupi Akara which is situated. And when in this Mahayoni and the Hamsarupi Akara gets one, then this very rare Brahmajnana gets manifested. And one who is capable of doing the union of this Hamsa and this Mahayoni, the Hamsalinga and the Mahayoni, and through that, a person can actually become Brahmajnani. Again, it goes further. Alingana bhaves chumbanam dhyanam itaram avahanam shitkaram syad naivudyam anulepanam japanam ramanam pratyang reta praschatya dakshina sarvatyema teya gopya mama pranadhika priye. So in this act of Maithuna, through the union, you have to do three things, the six things, six angas. That is In Maithunakari, you have Alingan, that is embracing, Chumman, kissing, Shitkar, that is scratching, Anulep, that is to rub, Raman, that is to foreplay, and Retokarja, that is to rub. So these things are literally translates into this. But now Shiva is revealing what it is, as I just quoted, Alinganattu Bhavin Uchchang Dhyanamiti Rakam, this sloka. It basically decodes the meaning. So in yoga, what happens, because you are embracing the very Shakti, not your sexual partner, because you are embracing it, and the experience is like a super sexual joy, like it's a pure sexual ecstasy. How? Because when you are basically doing the nyasa, there is this nyasa krama where you set the mantras up in your body, that is embracing the goddess. Like through the mantras with all the matrikas in your body, you are embracing the power. Through the meditation, like you are meditating on the goddess, you are basically kissing in your mouth, because, and when you are summoning it, it is shitkara, the very orgasm that is happening. Then when you have naivedya, that is offering, you are like the offering the food and everything, that is offering the very objects of your awareness. It is known as anulepan, rubbing. Then when you are doing the japa in that absorbed state, it is known as raman, foreplay, by very doing the japa act. Then when you ultimately do the japa samarpan, that is you submit everything to the goddess, that I have done all these things, and now just take all these things, I'm submitting it in your womb. See, this is the entire structure of the Hamsa. Now you're submitting it to the womb of the goddess. Oh goddess, I'm submitting it to you, and there's this beautiful sloka. Guhyati guhya goptitang grihanam asmat krita japam siddhir bhavatu me devi tat prasadat vaisite. Oh keeper of the great esoteric secrets, I am offering you all my these things, like all the japa and everything I do. Now, oh Devi, if you find it fit, give me the siddhi, give me the results of the japa, because in you will it flourish. And this is what is known as Ritapatan, that is ultimate ejaculation. So you see, the very idea of sexuality, which is distorted in most of the places, becomes something of a more yogic structure. And this becomes the very idea of your Virachara. So through Virachara, by making this internalized, one enters into Kaulachara. So in Kaulachara, you have this, because, okay, there is another thing, like when a person becomes Virachari, they have to wear a Bhairava vesh, like they have to dress up like a Bhairava, and they sit in the middle of the night. They don't do it in open. The Pratyaksha Kalpa, the physical one, is done in secrecy. And people who are showing it off are obviously has questionable things of Virachara, that these are the sacrifices we have done and blah, blah, blah. So everyone keeps it a bit secret. And then in secrecy, after it is done and after it has been completely internalized, you become a Siddha in Virachara. It's all these 5 things that I told you, the codes. So, and you enter into Kaulachara. So when a person becomes a Kaula, he becomes literally a person who is no more a human, he's dead. Dead as in symbolically dead. Your body is being replaced with a great Paramatattva, and that encompasses your entire body. So for that person, the samshana, the cremation ground, becomes very pure. It is as pure as a very pure place, like your, say in Europe, it's churches or somewhere where you go, like it's as pure as that, the graveyard and everything. So you don't see any impurity anywhere. You only experience the Kaula Siddha, that is the union of Kaula and Akula. Just a minute, I will just get that thing. Kaula. Yeah. So, pardon me. So, there is this Lakshana of Kaula that I actually found, and I would like to quote that. And like, it's a very interesting Kaula. So, a person who is Kaula has gone through, has put his Kundalini up till Brahmaranda, And through that Shakti, it reaches to Maheshwara. That Akula is Maheshwara. So Kula and Akula, when they have both made, that is this and this have united, this is your entire differentiated awareness of this world, and this is your undifferentiated state of awareness, which is oneness, and both are meeting. So in together you have the idea of Trika Sarvam Sarvatmakam, that there is this unity in multiplicity, and that bursts out immediately. So Kulasya Kula Tattva Kaula iti vidhiyate. So a person who has done that is actually a Kaulachari. Okay. So a true Purnabhishekta. So it now comes down to the is being simplified into the three bhavas of Tantra. So one who has mastered this, and this is where it goes, because after this Kaulachara, people what they do, because right now they are not really initiated and people are becoming tantric gurus, they have not gone through this all course, and they would directly come to you and say that I will teach you of the highest method of yoga, the highest yoga tantra, and I will reveal you the secrets. So there will be a beautiful circle where people will come, start shout at the top of their voices and the mantras, which is like a big mess. I will come into that, why it is a big mess. So you have to go through this, and this thing comes into the three main bhavatrayas. So a person, like just as Sharidam Trividam Proktam Uttam Madhyamam and Adhamam, Tatraiva Trividam Pratyam Praktyo Mukta Madhyamam Adhamam. So it's like just like the bodies of three types, like the supreme, the physical, and the subtle, like so are the bhavas which associate with them. And so after you have done this, it all comes from Vishwashat Tantra. So done this Shapta Bhava, it ultimately sums into this three, that is Pashvachara, Virachara, Divyachara. So when a person gets into this Pashva, Vira, and Vama, so you first start as an animal, that is being into your physical form, physical natures and everything, doing all the rituals and Dvaita sadhana. Then you gradually transcend to become a Virachari, that is to have winning over all these animal-like things and getting over this, the lajja bhai grina she tin thakte noy. This is the statement that we have, that you get over your shame, because shame is something that binds up. You're not ashamed of getting naked in front of this vidya, like naked as in you are naked to your consciousness, you are naked in your awareness. Fear of losing your ego, because fear comes when there is duality and ego is there. And like your grina is disgust. So disgust happens when you again see inequality in the other, like that thing is not pure, that thing is not right. So when you go beyond these things and you start become a Virachari. Okay, so in that it has these three bhavas, that is the Pashu Bhava, Vira Bhava, with consciousness, and can internalize the entire system of sadhana. So most of you who are dealing with Tantra would be knowing of Swami Lakshmanju and Swami Sri Ramakrishna Paramhansa. So Ramakrishna Paramhansa had gone through all these 7 acharas, and Lakshmanju was, if you go like that, he had internalized things, but just because Lakshmanju did that, don't think that you will be able to do that because you're not Lakshmanju. This is something that we have, or don't think because Ramakrishna Paramahamsa did that. They are like teachers who come down to teach, but in Tantra, the acharas go in the equal way. So this is what is very important, that you really have to go through the 3 practices, or your nature might be like, bhava is how your essence is. Like some people are born who are very good at internalizing things and already internalized it, and some are very much into Pashu Bhava. It is very, very much like Sambhava Upaya, Shakti Upaya and Anupaya of Trika. Like those who are familiar, like Ichcho Shakti, Ichcha Upaya, Jnana Upaya and Kriya Upaya. It is somewhat like that. It's your tendency that brings you into it. But when it comes to Acharya, even if you are a Divya Bhava person, you basically go through the 7 steps. But your Bhava will ultimately determine how your Mukti will be like. So why talk about this Achara things? Now coming to the problem. The problem is, I'm not exactly mentioning the websites, but if you go to a internet and you just Google the word Vama path of Tantra or the left hand path of Tantra and just Google learn Kaula Sadhana, just type that learn Kaula Sadhana in left hand way or Vama way, and you will suddenly come up with random uh, websites claiming that you pay me say $4,000 and we will be going to this exotic resort and having this Vama Marga of sadhana, and we will be practicing this, and what runs on this is mainly foreign funding. And then people start utter nonsense on this, that Vama Marga is where you will come to have a woman and you will have sex and you will have tantric massage courses where people will touch you in your third eye, you will be like lying down crying and in a shock. All this crazy ideas are popular. And then they will tell you that mudra is about your gestures of the hand. See how mudra gets messed up. And they might quote the alcohol part and the breath part, but they won't really be able to tell you how the meat gets internalized, because what I just told you happens in the ritual, that you take the meat and you are taught how to internalize. You take the fish, you are taught how to internalize. You take the alcohol, you are taught how to put it in Kundalini. And even when it comes to sexual intercourse and other practices, you are taught how to have the idea of the sexual fluid that is inside in your lower part, in the Muladhara, to put it down and you take it up. So all these things are taught to you in a very crucial manner in Tantra. And I'm not running a course right now. Like, it's not that you come here and learn a course. It's very secret. So the secrecy is told in Yogini Hridaya that, oh, goddess, keep it very secret, and it is only revealed through the mouths of yoginis. Like, we are coming from an unbroken lineage of yoginis from one mouth to another. And such secrecy is maintained because this is where marketing gets sabotaged. In Tantra, it is said that all these secrets are supposed to be preserved, like Matri Yonivat. Matri Yonivat means that when you are suddenly there and you see a number of people coming and you suddenly notice that your mother's genitals have been exposed. And what do? Do you expose it to the people? No, you obviously don't do that. You basically cover it up so that other people don't see it, because it is very pure. And in Tantra, these practices are kept very pure. You don't really go around revealing the mantras, because that is one code that is said. Mantras are like your internal power of Kundalini, which is preserved. And if you once say it out loud, like you come, you have a very wonderful class of a tantric text, and everyone is sitting in meditation like this, and a teacher who has questionable levels of initiation but a great scholarship would sit there and start chanting some big mantras, and then I have initiated you into, say, Kubjika, I've initiated you into Kala Samkarshini. That is utter nonsense. They're not initiating you into anything. They're just after you and your money and their popularity. That is not how initiation happens. And you just don't sit and do that Sri Matre Namaha, Sri Matre Namaha. No, I'm not telling the bijas, like it's not a mantra, it's just a name. Or Narayanaya Namo, like this. You don't sit and do that. It's in Tantra. It's more like you close your eyes, you internalize the entire thing, you have certain kriyas of tongue, you have certain kriyas of heart, you have certain kriyas of to do, how you visualize the guru, how you visualize the mantra, how you put the mantra in your body, how the mantra manifests in your body, how you take the tattvas to activate the mantra, and then the particular mantra that has been given to you, chant it for a few lakh times and do it till goddess appears to you or you manifest. There are different techniques, and this entire thing is kept in a very sacred manner, as I just mentioned, like Matri Yoni Vat Gupta. So like the Matri Yoni, you keep it secret. You don't really want to reveal it outside. If you do so, you are disrespecting the entire system. And this is where we know, because once one crosses the first Abhisheka, so I will just see if I could find it on Abhisheka Tattva. So in Tantra, there is this idea of Abhishek. So what is this levels of initiation and all these things? Because you cannot really enter into a Vama Marga course. You cannot really have a Vamachara course which will be running and asking you to come and have sexual practice and this thing, because it is something very secret and they won't post it in public. And it comes into the idea of Abhisheka. So how does this Abhisheka happen? So there are many levels of Abhisheka. So if we divide it into grossly, it will be having 3 to 4 main steps. The first will be the Samanya Diksha, or the just initiation of the mantra, where after you do the worship of the Guru will come and give you the Diksha. Okay, so I can discuss about the Diksha Paddhati a bit, because currently Tantric Diksha is becoming a big mischief in the world, and so I think it's better to discuss that. So you don't really, when you go into, you don't really select that this is the Guru and Devi decides it for you. So you, what happens is, how do I put it? You first go and the Guru selects you, and Guru reveals that you are going to be initiated into Tantra, and he tests you. He tests you for 6 months or 7 months. He asks you to do certain things. He has a word with you, and then he finds you fit to be initiated. Okay, like this initiation process, like I had in my main Tantric initiation, like I had it very quickly. I was very lucky in that way. So but I have seen people going there for 3 years, 4 years and getting tested, going there like not medical checkup, like, but the goddess is not permitting them to enter. So there are paramparas which will give you an easy entry, and there are serious paramparas which will not give you very easy entry. So a Siddha Guru will be there and you will be like, I want to take. And unless goddess asks him or her to, like, it's her is very rare, because you would be extremely lucky to get a Guru who is woman and a Siddha. And furthermore, to get it in a asana, like in there are kinds of asana, like the Trimunda, Panchamunda, Navamunda, till 108 Munda asana. Panchamunda is somewhat common, where you have 5 heads of animals and the Guru sits there and does Siddhi and the ritual, and you are brought over there and go. But that even is rare. You don't really get, and if you're getting a woman, and 108 Munda is a legend thing, where 108 human skulls are kept vacant, and there are, I think, 1 or 2 places in the world, I know of only one. And if you are lucky and there the siddhis are done, and people, like, there are great sadhakas like Vamakhepa and the great sadhak Vamakhepa, he was initiated in Navamunda asana. And so you go there and the Guru sits there, and Guru, after getting the adesha, the word adesha means the command from the goddess, the Guru basically initiates you into the mantra that the goddess asks the Guru to give you. So there is a direct connection with the goddess, and the yoginis coming there, because in the tantric practice you learn to get to know the yoginis and everyone. Your ideas become very subtle. It's very, very much like Western traditional orthodox witchcraft, where you undergo many kind of sadhanas, and you really do this. Just a minute, I just have to. Yeah, sorry about that. So you have to go to a Guru, and your Guru will be, as I was saying, yeah, in the asana or in the temple of the Guru, he or she, whoever it is, just initiates into a single syllable mantra or some kind of a name. It may not be even a mantra, bija mantra, it may be a name. And you have to start chanting it, knowing it to be the most precious thing and the representation of all the gods. So this is the very first process of the Guru Diksha. And like, once you start chanting it regularly, you start accumulating your power. You will have certain feelings your Guru will reveal to you, and you have power. And then after a certain, say, 14, 15 lakhs of chanting in a particular method, your Guru tests you in the entire process and sees you fit to enter into the tantric acharas. This is the period, this entire period, you will be taught about Vedachara mostly, and sometimes into Vaishnavachara to do seva of God, you do this much of puja and all these things. It depends from the lineages to lineages. Uh, One of the more popular versions just gives you Shakta Abhisheka directly. This is the first Abhisheka. A more difficult and a more pure tantric version won't directly give you Shakta Abhisheka. It will test you, and then after some lakhs of jap, and you have accumulated something, they will give you Shakta Abhishek. And Shakta Abhishek happens when different gods and gods are invoked, and they ultimately sprinkle water and many things into you. You are being bathed in that. And this is why online Diksha of Shakta Abhishek is not possible. Samanya is possible, but Abhishek is not possible. You will be touched, you will be sprinkled, and mantras will be read, and you will ultimately become the first step of a Shakta. Okay, this is where you start becoming of a Shakta. And then in with Shakta Abhishek, you start getting the Shakti Mantra. It's usually a Vijay mantra, and it's usually one of the Dasa Mahavidyas. More popularly, a few of them are selected, which I'm not revealing right now. And if a person who gets this mantra, because this is a very critical part, without Shakta Abhishek, this just gives you the right into entering. Okay, something before I enter into Shakta Abhishek, let me tell you. You will find people claiming that they have been initiated by great acharyas. So someone would say that I had a dream where Abhinavagupta came to me and initiated me into great practice. And I have been initiated, and right now I am a guru of this tradition. Well, in Tantra, you may be initiated by Abhinavagupta. That's brilliant, but that just makes you a practitioner who is allowed to practice by oneself, but not initiate other or discuss anything of Tantra to others, because that does not really give you entry into Tantra. Even Shaktabhishek does not. So a person who worships the Dasa Mahavidyas or any of these Mahavidyas, the great Shakti, without Abhishek, will, as long as the sun and moon would stay, will burn in hellish fire. This is the warning that has been given. So once you have Shakta mantra and you plan to worship goddess, you must, by must I mean you must have Shakta Abhisheka. So this is the Abhisheka that makes you eligible for worshipping goddess. Just worshipping, not initiating another person. Initiating comes far, far later. Okay. So you have to get through that, and then you can start worshipping, not using the mantras for any other purpose, just worshipping. So it has been revealed that the Shaktabhishek has certain sequence of doing it, and you have different sankalpas and adyadi, that is, you worship the goddess Adya, and from Adya is Kali basically, and then you do the Abhisheka using word. Well, these are actually published. I'm just reading it from. I'm not reading it from just so that I don't reveal the secret. So, with different kinds of ingredients, you worship it, and then you basically offered the water to them, and then you have to do some homas and certain rituals, and then ultimately with that you are being bathed, and you become a Shaktabhishikta person. Well, Shaktabhishikta is a two-way thing. You get into Tantra Achara and you see if it suits you, person who practices their sadhana through Shaktabhishekame, and then there are person who might cross this thing and get into more serious sadhana. So when you are getting into serious sadhana, you enter into the level of Purnabhishek. So Purnabhishek comes after Shaktabhishek. It comes much, much later. It's very rare that someone gets Purnabhishek. So Purnabhishek first degree, when you happen of the first level of Purnabhishek, you basically get the name. Your name changes from what you are right now, right? So I'm telling this to you because, again, this is another drama you get. You go to an online club, I would say that's where chanting is going on, and while chanting, they will say, okay, I give you this name, and this name will be, you will be from today known as, say, Milarepa. I have using the name Milarepa, or like Gaurapada Guptapad, Like this kind of random names they would come up with. And there's a certain coded way of how the names are fixed, how the names are to be done. These gurus will be absolutely clueless about it. And right now I find someone abroad like, oh, I practice Tantra. I have been worshipping goddess and working with Kali. Like Kali is very popular in the West for some strange reason. Kali is very popular in the West in a very wrong manner. And you will have popular Indian gurus giving you lectures on how Tantra is, how Tantric methods are dangerous, how Tantrics raise corpses, how Kali is someone you should not work with, and all these utter nonsensical things that we see. So nothing like that is there. It's not that exotic as people might think. There are many yogic things, but it's not exotic at all. Like it seems exotic from outside, but no, it's not exotic. So as I was saying, to become a Koula, to become someone who wants to enter the Kula, one has to get into Purnabhishek. So in Purnabhishek, the first thing that happens is you discard your old name and you get a new name. And that name is kept secret. And you also get a Gotra. And then you have been given a red cloth, like this is a red shirt. I'm not exactly wearing the red cloth. We're not supposed to wear it outside. You are given some more things in Purnabhishek, and then the Guru teaches you the mantra. And he starts teaching you about certain esoteric ritual. Every day you go to him, you sit with him, and you learn about the more esoteric versions of the ritual. And up till here, we can talk. Like beyond that, we are not allowed to talk or discuss what happens. So in Purnabhishek, till Shaktabhishek, it was open. And you are talked about the esoteric methods, you are taught about how to do certain forms of sadhana, how to do the esoteric practices, how to sit in esoteric practice. There are certain names of the esoteric practice, which again I'm not telling over here. Let me see if it's published or not. It's not written, so let's better not talk about it. Yeah. So the esoteric practices are there, which you learn. You learn about the particular hand gestures you are supposed to do in the practices. You learn about how really you enter into a particular puja room. And this is again I'm talking about now. Right now I'm talking about the different part. Outside esoteric part, there's the part where you learn about the puja. So you learn about something known as Rahasya Puja. You learn about something known as the particular methods of sadhana. And Rahasya Puja is how you do the Rahasya Puja and how you do the open puja. And since Purnabhishek, you can plan and go, and suppose someone asks in your own god or goddesses, it's usually goddess. So like suppose you're a Purnabhishekta of Kali, and there is a Kali Puja happening, and you have a particular mantra, and you go there and you have the right to do puja, you have the right to establish a personal relationship with the goddess from this point. And a Purnabhishekta has certain rights as well, like which is not there in Shaktabhishekta. You get certain permissions, like you have the permission to use the 5 makaras. You have the permission to sit in the Panchamunda asana, that the 5-headed asana, which is very powerful. If you are not really trained, it can kill you. So I mean literally kill you. And so all these permissions you start getting with Purnabhishek after a certain level of sadhana. And then after completing this, in very rare cases, they get into more than sadhana of more than one Mahavidya. And you start getting into something known as Krama Abhisheka, Krama Sadhana. So not Kalikrama of the one we know of in Nepal or Kashmir. Like this is Krama is you start with 1 Mahavidya, 2, 3, the first 3, and Kali Tara Tripura, and then you practice this Mahavidya Krama, and you are taught about the rituals and their practices, how they're invoked, how they're brought into the circle, how you invoke them and ask them for a favor, or how you worship them in there, how they would respond, how to read their gestures, and all these things are being taught over there. And then once, and this is like almost impossible to find, but nowadays people are getting Samrajya Abhishek, so it's not an odd thing. Like when having Siddhi of these 3 Mahavidyas, one gets Samrajya Abhisheka. And then after Samrajya Abhisheka, there are 2 more Abhishekas, and you get to the cross of Samrajya, Mahasamrajya, Krama Samrajya, Medha Samrajya, Siddhi Samrajya, and Mahasamrajya. In Mahasamrajya Abhishek, you are given the entire krama of the Vidyas, and you are entitled to become a guru. And that is the point where you are given Shuramnai. the 6 amnas, or the 6 faces of Shiva. In some places there are Sapta Amnai, the 7th face of Shiva, which is known as Gupta Amnai. So the 5 faces plus 1, the Anuttara, and that gives you the authority of the mantras in a particular system. Now, depending on from which part of the Tantra you are coming, there are this Amnaya Abhishek of Purna Abhishek and other things and the rites. So a Shodamnaya Prapta person is actually eligible to be a guru. When coming into a tantric circle, if a person falsely claims to be a Shodamnai, we will just ask them simple questions. And once they fail, we will immediately know that, okay, this person is not an insider. So that these are like codes which are like passwords. We just test and see if they're allowed to come in. And if they're not, we just don't really let them go. And like, okay, whatever nonsense you're doing, keep on doing that. And no secrets are to be revealed beyond that. So basically, till Purnabhishek is something people get. There are systems in which Purnabhishek is considered to be the last Abhishek, Kramabhishek is considered to be right after Shakti Abhishek, and after Purnabhishek, you get Mahasamrajya Abhishek, and you become a guru. So a guru must always have a Shakti. Like, it's not just you are a single man or you are just a woman. Like, a woman can be, but a single man, it's a bit difficult. Like, so guru is having Shakti as its consort, woman consort. So who would come? And in this rituals, the Shakti plays a very predominant role in Tantra. So, and this is where the very academic fetish starts. Like, I would call it an academic fetish because the gender theory problem like barges in and starts to say that how it's a way of abolishing patriarchy and blah 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 blah, all these things. So yeah, there is a reversal of order of the very patriarchal or the imagery of the male masculine dominant imagery, and it becomes a feminine dominant imagery over here. But this is not exactly what Tantra is all about. It's more of the union imagery. Like, we are trying to imagine something supreme into an anthropomorphic form, and which does not really take an anthropomorphic form, and this is a problem that has been objected. However, the role reversal and the caste questions are something interesting because Tantra, once one becomes Purnabhishekta, one goes beyond caste. Like, you can be a Chandala, a low-born, you can be a Mlecha, you can be someone from entirely another non-Hindu community, but you can still be initiated into the highest level of Tantra. Well, it is not so in the case of Vedic cultures because Vedas preserve it only for one caste only. So again, there are certain restrictions which certain castes have to maintain, like Brahmins don't really get into certain practices, while Chandalas are supposed to get into all the practices. So these are there. And you have to be very careful of the guru part. So when it is done, when all this initiation and the process is done, what happens? You basically enter into the tantric practice. So if you could figure out, the idea of Tantra that I was talking of till now is very different from the popular Western concept of the New Age Tantra that we see. And there are so many books roaming around, so many massage parlors opening, which are talking about tantric practices. In none of these practices do we see that people massaging each other or like sitting around doing random meditations and all these things. Even after Purnabhisheka, from where we start entering the ritual esoteric teachings, it is said that the guru, like your guru, will be instructing you personally. And at times they will tell me that, oh, disciple, please be very careful when you listen to this. You really should not reveal it even to your other brothers. Brothers mean other sishyas of the guru, other disciples of the same guru, because this is to be kept absolutely secret and very personal. So this is the main code, while there is this other code where you read through the books. You have been reading through several hundreds and hundreds of books, and you have been thinking, oh, I have known a lot of Tantra. Now I can claim myself to be a Purnabhishekta. And so, like, I was reading out from a book because I need to know that what is published and what is not published, what is kept oral, because much of things which are written in the book are actually of oral traditions because it was revealed and made public. And if you know Bengali, it's more easy to get these words. It's not so much in Hindi, Sanskrit, yes, like this texts are from Sanskrit, but a lot of things are in oral. In English, it has not been worked on that much, especially Shakti Tantra. So, as I was saying, uh, the secrecy is maintained. So you really don't sit around preaching 100 people the same thing in the same way. The personal connection with the guru, who is thought to be inseparable from the Shiva and his mouth to be the mouth of Shiva. So you really don't differentiate and reveal what has been said to you from Shiva. And when one becomes a guru, like one becomes one with Shiva, there is a particular method that is also taught over here in Tantra. So you start preaching the person in that way to know how the ecstasy is experienced, how you become one with the Shiva. So this is something like you think about. As you see, you might see Kali, like I'm just putting it up. You can see that here she's like put up, the message on the side. So as you see, like in Bengal, worship of Kali is very important, and she's the Adya Shakti. I would be discussing Kali right now because that becomes probably the most messed up part of the practice. Okay, uh, just like before I discuss Kali, we would just